He gave her his whole life. She gave herself to someone else, someone meant to heal their marriage. But when he caught them red-handed, he didn't scream, he planned. And when his revenge finally came, it didn't just ruin their affair. It rewrote the ending of their story forever. Let's begin. The house had always been their sanctuary. White porch swing, a crayon-marked fridge, laughter echoing down the hall. But lately, it felt more like a carefully staged lie. Roman Whitaker, once a man brimming with ambition, now existed in a fog of daily routines, empty dinner tables, and haunted silence. His wife, Natalie, wasn't cruel. She was absent, physically present, emotionally evaporated. It hadn't always been like this. 10 years ago, they were inseparable. She wore his flannel shirts. He memorized the way she took her coffee. Even 5 years ago, when bills piled and their twins were toddlers screaming at midnight, they still touched hands under the kitchen table, still whispered dreams before sleep. But now, that table was cluttered with unpaid bills and unopened mail. Natalie had stopped laughing at his jokes. She avoided his gaze like it might reveal something she was desperately hiding. One morning, while their kids were still asleep upstairs, Roman watched her sip her coffee in silence. "We should talk," she said without looking at him. "To someone, maybe a therapist." He blinked. "I thought we were." She shook her head. "Not like before." "Not really." The first therapy session felt like peeling skin. Vulnerable, awkward. Dr. Elliot Monroe, their therapist, was the calm sort. Early 40s, soft-spoken, the kind of guy who probably played chess on Sundays. He asked polite questions. Roman tried to answer. Natalie wept silently. "I don't feel love anymore," she said. Those words crushed Roman harder than any failure at work ever had. He tried. God, he tried. Canceled work trips, made breakfast on Sundays, learned to braid their daughter's hair. But love, real love, it wasn't landing. Week after week, they went back. Roman bared his soul in that chair. He thought they were healing, until Natalie changed the pattern. "I want to see Dr. Monroe alone for a while," she said one evening. Roman blinked, stunned. "What?" "I just need space. I have things I need to work through." At first, he didn't question it, but the sessions multiplied. Once a week became twice, then 3 times. She'd come home late, distant, quieter. One night, he cooked her favorite meal, lemon chicken with wild rice, the one she used to beg him to make. She smiled, sat down, ate silently. When he reached out to hold her hand afterward, she pulled away, softly. "I'm tired." He watched her disappear into the bedroom, and then into the bathroom. The light slipped under the door, illuminating a silhouette, a shadow across her skin. When she emerged, wrapped in a towel, he saw it. A bruise, on her upper arm. Faint. Then another, near her collarbone. His breath caught. "Natalie, are you okay?" She stiffened. "What?" "The bruises." "Oh," she said too quickly. "I bumped into the laundry shelf. I'm clumsy." "No." She wasn't. Not like that. Not ever. Roman didn't sleep that night. The next day, Natalie mentioned another session. Alone. He called in sick. Followed her. She wasn't clumsy. She was cheating, with the man paid to fix their marriage. And Roman? He was done being the broken one. The parking lot outside the Lakeside Wellness Clinic was quiet, sun-drenched, and surrounded by manicured shrubs. Roman's heart thudded like a war drum as he crouched low in his car, parked a few spots down. Natalie had just pulled in, sunglasses on, hair pinned up, casual, but too careful. She looked polished, calculated, not like someone headed for therapy, more like someone sneaking into something forbidden. She walked inside, past the reception window, without hesitation. A few minutes later, Dr. Monroe arrived, coffee in hand, same navy sport coat he wore when he smiled at Roman, and said, "Marriage can survive anything if you both want it." Roman watched him stroll, and like nothing in the world could touch him. But something was about to. Roman waited. 10 minutes. 15. Then he stepped out of the car, heart hammering, and walked toward the building. He didn't storm in. He moved like a ghost, unnoticed. A couple stood by the elevator. Roman took the stairs. When he reached the 3rd floor, he saw it. Their shadows moved behind the frosted glass of Dr. Monroe's office. The blinds weren't shut completely. The door didn't click shut. A sliver remained. Just enough. Roman inched closer. What he saw through that tiny gap made his stomach twist. Dr. Monroe's hand brushed Natalie's cheek. He leaned in, slow, practiced, intimate. She didn't flinch. She didn't freeze. She leaned into it. Their lips met. Then her arms wrapped around his neck. Roman's mouth went dry. He didn't blink. Couldn't. Her hands were undoing his buttons. The same hands that once clutched his shoulders in labor. The same lips that whispered, "I do," on a sunlit hilltop, now kissed a man who billed them by the hour. He didn't kick the door in right away. He recorded. Shaky hands. Furious breath. Phone trembling, but aimed right at the betrayal unraveling before him. He recorded until there was no denying what he saw. Then Roman stepped back. Let his knuckles tighten. Let the blood boil. And then he kicked the door open. The door slammed back against the wall, sending a loud crack through the floor. Natalie gasped and grabbed her shirt, eyes wide with guilt. Monroe stumbled, shirt half unbuttoned, mouth twitching between apology and fear. What the hell is this? Roman's voice cut through the room like a blade. Natalie stammered. Roman, I can explain. Explain. He held up his phone. Is that what you call this? Therapy. Dr. Monroe stepped forward, hands raised. Let's just sit down, talk like adults. Roman's fist found his jaw faster than words. One hit. Clean. The therapist crashed into the desk, knocking over a lamp. Natalie screamed. Stop. Roman, please. This won't fix anything. Won't fix anything. Roman turned to her, voice sharp, teeth clenched. I fought for us. I held this family together while you cried on his damn couch. And now I find out you were screwing him behind that fake diploma on the wall. She sobbed, reaching for him, but he stepped back like she was poison. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't hurt me, Roman said coldly. You destroyed me, and I swear, I'll make sure neither of you forget it. He walked out, phone in hand, evidence secured. But this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about justice, revenge, and Roman wasn't going to stop until the world saw what they'd done. The morning after the confrontation, the house was hollow. Roman had barely slept. The kids were still at his sister's for the weekend, blissfully unaware. That was the only blessing in the chaos. Natalie hadn't come home. He didn't expect her to. The wine-stained tablecloth still sat in the dining room, a cruel reminder of the night he'd tried to win her back. Roman stood over it for a long while, staring at the untouched candle wax hardened beside the half-empty bottle of wine. His hands were steady now. His heart wasn't racing anymore. The rage had calcified into something stronger. Purpose. He opened his laptop and called the one person he never imagined needing, his divorce attorney. I have proof, Roman said before the man could even greet him. Recorded footage. He's her therapist. Or was. Within 24 hours, Roman filed an official complaint with the medical board against Dr. Elliot Monroe. The footage was undeniable. It didn't just show infidelity. It showed professional misconduct, so severe it made the clinic's board pale. They suspended Monroe's license, pending a full investigation. And Roman? He filed for divorce. When Natalie finally returned 3 days later, she didn't knock. She used her key, walked in like nothing had imploded. Roman was in the kitchen, feeding the kids cereal. She froze at the threshold. Roman, please. Her voice cracked. Can we talk? He didn't even look up. Not now. The kids are watching. Her gaze dropped to Ava and Parker, 6 years old, still smiling at the cartoons playing on the tablet propped beside the fruit bowl. Her bottom lip trembled, but Roman didn't flinch. That night, she texted him. I made a mistake. I didn't mean for this to happen. I still love you. Roman didn't respond. The next morning, please, can we fix this for the kids? Roman replied with a single word. Lawyer. And that's when Natalie changed. She stopped apologizing. She started defending. Her new attorney spun a story, so hollow it bordered on delusion. My client experienced emotional abandonment. The infidelity was a symptom, not the root cause. Mr. Whitaker failed to nurture their marriage. But Roman had receipts, texts, photos, the video. He wasn't just a man wronged. He was a father protecting his children from the kind of deception that tore families apart. At the custody hearing, the courtroom was still, heavy with tension. Roman wore a dark navy suit, no tie, hair neatly combed. Natalie wore black. She looked tired, her usual shine dimmed. Roman took the stand. She didn't just cheat, he said plainly. She broke the trust our children depended on. She turned therapy, a place meant to heal, into a hiding place for betrayal. And she let it happen knowing it would destroy us. Natalie wept softly, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. But the judge didn't blink. Roman's lawyer played the video. No amount of tears could undo the image of Natalie half-dressed in a therapist's office. When it was her turn to speak, Natalie said, "I didn't plan this. I was overwhelmed. Roman worked too much. I was alone." But the judge cut her short. "Loneliness is not a license for infidelity, Mrs. Whitaker. Not especially when your children's well-being is at stake." In the end, Roman was granted full custody. Natalie was allowed bi-weekly supervised visitation. No overnights. No flexibility. Her sobs echoed in the hallway as Roman walked out, his lawyer nodding in quiet victory. But he didn't feel victorious. He felt free. Free from the web of lies. Free from pretending. Free from a marriage that had already ended long before he caught her. Still, Roman wasn't done. Justice was one thing. But revenge? That had just begun. Weeks passed. Natalie's name was no longer listed on the mailbox. Roman had switched locks, blocked her number, and built a careful wall between her and the children. He didn't poison their minds. He told them Mommy was taking some time to get better, but he never lied when they asked why she wasn't coming home. He focused on rebuilding the home she'd nearly shattered. Morning pancakes with Ava and Parker became sacred. Homework at the kitchen island. Evening walks. Laughter started to live in the rooms again. Small, hesitant at first, then louder, brighter. But beneath the surface of Roman's healing, something else simmered. He didn't just want to move on. He wanted to make sure she understood what she destroyed. And more than that, he wanted Monroe to feel it too. So he began planning. It started with a simple web search. Elliot Monroe Therapist Misconduct. The article came up within a week of the board's preliminary investigation. Renowned family therapist accused of inappropriate relationship with client. License under review. But Roman wanted more than headlines. He wanted to end him. Roman hired a private investigator. Subtle, efficient, expensive. The PI dug into Monroe's past like a bloodhound. The man had a reputation. Overly friendly with certain clients, especially the vulnerable ones. No criminal record, but complaints buried in HR folders. Nothing formal. Nothing provable. Until Roman handed him the footage. That changed everything. The PI reached out to two former clients, divorced women who had mysteriously left therapy under abrupt circumstances. With legal help and promises of anonymity, both gave sworn statements. And suddenly, the board didn't just suspend Monroe. They dismantled him. His license was permanently revoked. His clinic shut down. Civil lawsuits began circling like vultures. Meanwhile, Roman quietly bought the building where Monroe had once practiced, through a shell LLC, just to twist the knife further. He turned the office into a children's reading center. The grand opening was small. The kids cut the ribbon. A local journalist covered the story. A photo showed Roman crouched beside Ava and Parker under a sign that read, "New Beginnings." The story went viral for its heartwarming message. But the real message? It was for Monroe. And for Natalie. She came back weeks later, tears in her eyes, standing at his doorstep. "You ruined his life," she said bitterly. "You destroyed him." Roman stood tall in the doorway. "No, he destroyed himself. Just like you did." "You used to be kind," she whispered. "You used to love me." He didn't answer right away. He looked back into the house, where Ava was laughing from the living room. "I did love you," he said, "and I was kind, until you treated me like I was disposable." Her lips trembled. "I lost everything." He nodded. "So did I, but only one of us earned it." She stepped back. "Are you really going to make me suffer forever?" Roman's voice was steady, final. "I'm not making you suffer. I'm just refusing to carry the pain you caused. That's your burden now." He closed the door gently, not with anger, with resolve. Inside, he exhaled. For the first time in months, he felt whole again. Not because he hurt them, but because he finally chose himself. The seasons shifted slowly. Leaves turned amber and streets softened under the hush of early autumn winds. Roman's world had changed, but not with explosions or chaos. It shifted quietly, piece by piece, as if the universe was returning balance to where betrayal had once ruled. The storm had passed. The wreckage remained, but so did something else. Strength. Routine had returned to his home, but this time it wasn't sterile or hollow. It was grounding. Mornings began with Parker crawling into bed beside him, breath warm, arms clinging tightly. Ava's endless questions at breakfast filled the silence that once ate at Roman's soul. He poured their juice, cut fruit into little stars, and packed their backpacks like he was stitching together a new kind of love, one that didn't depend on anyone else's loyalty. He hadn't seen Monroe in person since the board's final ruling. The therapist's license was officially revoked, his clinic closed, and 3 more women had come forward. One of them gave a teary statement at a disciplinary hearing, recounting how she'd felt groomed and manipulated during her sessions. Roman attended the hearing, not to gloat, but to witness the consequences ripple. When Monroe saw him in the crowd, his face paled like a man watching the ghost of every mistake he'd buried. Roman didn't smile. He didn't nod. He simply stood there, steady, silent, unshaken. Natalie had become a shadow of who she once was. The glossy, composed exterior had faded. She'd sold her car, moved into a small apartment on the east side. She still dressed like the woman she'd once been, but her eyes gave her away now, flickering, cautious, never quite meeting his. She came for her scheduled visitations, never early, never late. Ava asked questions sometimes. Why does Mommy always look like she's been crying? Roman didn't give her the answers. He gave her protection instead. Sometimes grown-ups get sad when they hurt people they love, he'd say, and sometimes they're still learning how to be better. He refused to make Natalie the villain in their kids' eyes, but he'd be damned if he let her become a hero. One evening, after handing the kids back at the drop-off location, Natalie lingered. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice hesitant, almost rehearsed. Roman studied her. About what? Her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and defiance. About us. There's no us, Nat. That ended the day you let another man touch you and called it healing. She flinched. I didn't mean for any of it to happen. You didn't mean for it. Roman's jaw tightened. Do you realize how many choices you made to make it happen? Every time you booked an appointment. Every time you stayed late. Every time you undressed in his office. You didn't trip into that. I was lonely, she whispered. So was I, he snapped. But I didn't betray you. I made dinner. I bought flowers. I begged for you to meet me halfway. You chose someone else. She blinked hard. I lost everything. You the kid's my name. Everyone looks at me like I'm toxic. Roman exhaled. His anger wasn't fire anymore. It had cooled into steel. That's not my doing. That's your reflection, he said quietly. She took a step closer. Are you seeing someone? The question didn't sting like it once would have. He thought of Eliza, the woman from the bookstore who had asked about Ava's favorite author. They talked a few times. Shared coffee once. No kisses. No flirting. Just ease. Safety. No, he said truthfully. But for the first time, I'm open to the idea of being with someone who knows how to hold loyalty like it matters. Natalie's eyes welled. So that's it. That's peace, Roman replied. You traded trust for temptation. I traded pain for peace. We both got what we reached for. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Only the creak of her car door as she slid in, shoulders shaking, eyes filled with things she could never undo. Roman didn't watch her drive off. He turned toward home. The porch light flickered on, warm and familiar. Inside, Ava and Parker waited with movie snacks and handmade cardboard crowns. As he stepped inside, Parker leapt onto him. Daddy, Ava says you cheated at Uno. Roman laughed, deep and real, and kissed his son's forehead. I'll cheat better next time, he teased. That night, the 3 of them curled up on the couch in a fortress of blankets. Outside, the wind stirred the leaves into a gentle swirl. Inside, Roman finally felt still, not because the storm had stopped, but because he had learned to build shelter within himself. And for the first time in months, he didn't feel like something was missing. He felt whole.